So here's a question that we get asked a lot. How do I prevent the risk of getting voted out of my own nonprofit? It's a legitimate question, and it's rooted in the perceived risk that nonprofit founders face. Today, we're going to answer some real questions from our audience about this subject of risk, so here we go. Hi, I'm Greg McRae, founder and CEO of Foundation Group, and welcome back to our 501c3 University channel, where we strive to make nonprofit issues understandable. We get some variation of this question every week around our office. If I'm the founder of a nonprofit, how do I protect myself from a board of directors removing me from my own nonprofit? Like I said in the intro, it's a legitimate concern, and we covered this issue in detail in our Sole Member Nonprofit video, and I won't rehash that entire conversation here, but I do encourage you to check that video out, and we're going to link it in the description below. That said, we recently received a number of questions that touch on this subject from the vantage point of the writer's real scenario. I think hearing these real-world issues and their solutions will help you out. Our first question comes from Gina, and she writes, I want to open a 501c3 and serve as executive director with a board of directors, but I don't want the possibility of being voted out as I'm the founder. How is this possible? Gina's question is totally understandable. How does she start a nonprofit and protect herself from being bounced from her own venture? A sole member nonprofit may be exactly what she's looking for. Now, there's really no way for Gina to be perpetually protected as a board member, but the same is not true for being a member. A sole member nonprofit is almost always a public charity 501c3, meaning that you still need that board of directors, and the makeup of that board should be a majority independent, meaning that the majority of the board doesn't have a conflict of interest of being related to you or each other by blood, marriage, or outside business co-ownership. In a sole member setting, you are the membership, which can be perpetual. The membership appoints the board, and to a very real degree, the board performs their duties at the pleasure of the membership. Now, this is fraught with potential problems as well as benefits. It's a recipe for an unholy dictatorship if it's in the wrong hands of a control freak. It's also not a legal structure in New York, for example, though it is in the vast majority of states. Again, I highly encourage you to check out the full video for more details. Our second question comes from Wilson, and he touches on the New York issue. He writes, thank you so much for explaining about the sole member structure. I live in New York State, so how can I register in another state as a sole member? Is that possible? What's interesting is that we have received 3 versions of that same question in the past few weeks, so people in New York want answers. Well, yes, Wilson, it is possible. I'm not sure that it's the best solution for you or not. If you're going to operate a new 501c3 in New York, but you're dead set on structuring it as a sole member organization, then you will indeed need to incorporate somewhere else. As long as you secure a registered agent in the state of incorporation, you can incorporate almost anywhere, like Delaware, for example. Now, 2 things I'll mention really quickly here. We've got videos on registered agents and what that means, as well as the pros and cons of Delaware incorporation. We'll link those below. Incorporating in one state but operating in another usually requires you to register with the state of operation, New York for you, as a foreign corporation. Foreign being, say, Delaware or wherever you choose to incorporate. Now, there's nothing wrong with that, and it does indeed allow you to function as a sole member nonprofit in New York. But what it also does is give you multiple states to keep up compliance with. And if that's too much of a headache, consider another option. You can always set up a multi-member nonprofit in New York, but limit the membership to, say, 3 people. Obviously, it doesn't give you the same level of control that sole member does, but it is an option to consider and maybe less headache for you in the long run. Question 3 comes from Tim, and it goes in a very different direction. Tim writes, can a sole member nonprofit be another nonprofit in North Carolina? I think what Tim means here is, can a sole member be another nonprofit, not a person? Honestly, I'm not going to try to sort out all the legal ramifications of such a thing. I'm just going to venture a no as the best answer, and if only from a practical consideration. I will say that most nonprofit state law is going to define members as people. It's not a blanket statement, though, as membership can often be defined in various ways with various classes of members. My short answer, Tim, is don't do that. Our 4th and final question today comes from Juliet, and she writes, thanks for all your advice. In a sole member nonprofit, can the sole member be in control of the finances? Also, can the sole member be the CEO? Thank you, and your time is truly appreciated. Well, thank you for the thank yous, Juliet. We appreciate our clients and subscribers as well. The question is, can Juliet control the money and be the CEO too, as well as sole member? In other words, she's wanting total control. This is where I start to get nervous about people using the sole member structure. The idea of sole membership is to protect the founder from removal of service to the nonprofit, particularly for those who are investing all the time, effort, and vision, and even more so if they are substantially funding it themselves. Now, in Juliet's case, I'm concerned that she just wants to do things her way. And you know what? That is not a bad thing necessarily. I'm just not sure that a 501c3 public charity is right in this situation. The board would still have fiduciary duties and liabilities, but relatively no input or control. And that's not okay. Who would serve under those conditions? Well, I wouldn't. I think that if this much control is needed, Juliet should probably operate this organization as a for-profit entity, or maybe keep it small and operate it under a fiscal sponsorship. There's simply too much of a death grip desired here to work as a sole member nonprofit. As usual, we had some great questions from our followers, and we love being able to help make things more understandable. Got questions? Ask them below. Who knows? Maybe we'll feature your question next. Thanks for watching. Now go serve your community. Hey, do me a favor and don't navigate away just yet. We would really appreciate it if you would hit the like button below, as it really helps get our content recommended to more people. Subscribe if you haven't already, as we have great content coming your way on a regular basis. Finally, you can click the little bell icon to be notified of new content when we post it. To learn more about Foundation Group, you can visit us on the web at www.501c3.org. Thanks, and we'll see you next time.